Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. Joining us are the Mirror's chief football writer John Cross and the Daily Mail's football editor Ian Ladyman. Welcome to you both. Let's quickly run you through the back pages. Starting in the Mirror, who focus on Marcus Rashford's arrival at Barcelona at the Nou Camp. As good as new is their headline. Into the Telegraph, it says Sarina Wiegman will become a Dane whether or not England do retain their Euros title. In the Sun, they also mention Marcus Rashford's move to Barcelona and could potentially be another big move in Spain, with Xabi Alonso and Real Madrid eyeing the Manchester City midfielder Rodri. And two of the stories we've just touched on covered in the Times as well. There's nods to both Sarina Wiegman and to Marcus Rashford. And it is with Marcus Rashford we will start this evening, who has said he feels at home at Barcelona already. So the question is, Ian Ladyman, given that Barcelona are covering his wages, is it a best move for Rashford, for Barcelona or for Manchester United?
You know what? This is one of those strange situations where this is a move that actually suits absolutely everybody involved in it. It obviously suits Marcus Rashford because he's moved from one gigantic football club to another. It suits Barcelona if he plays well. It will suit Barcelona. It suits Manchester United because Barcelona covering all the wages. He's out of the dressing room where he'd become, in the eyes of Ruben Amorim, a bit of a problem. And he's not moved to another English club where he could potentially embarrass them by playing well. And it's also, let's not forget, possibly a very good move for Thomas Tuchel, the England manager, who's desperate to have Marcus Rashford in his England squad. He's already picked him once, couldn't pick him last time because he was injured, but will definitely pick him, I would imagine, in March if he's fit and playing well for Barcelona. So as we sit here today, it ticks all of those boxes. All that Marcus Rashford has to do now is go and play well. And that's something that he hasn't done consistently for a very, very long time. So that's the challenge right now.
Given that he was frozen out at Manchester United, John, he was decent in his loan spell at Aston Villa. But has he done well to get a move to the Spanish champions?
I think he's done remarkably well. And I do admire him so much because it feels to me that he really set his heart on a move to Barcelona. It was almost like the boyhood dream that has come true within the last, say, 6 months or so. And certain circumstances have worked out. You know, would Barcelona have been able to do that had they signed Nico Williams? Yeah, arguably not. And particularly, they always seem to be under financial pressure. So he's worked his way, you would argue, in certain ways. But I really, really admire his determination, the way that I think he spoke and spoke sort of kind of with an authority. He speaks so well generally. You know, he's a 27-year-old lad, and basically I just feel it took some courage, I think, to leave his boyhood club, his boyhood heroes, Manchester United. I do think he had 6 good months at Aston Villa, obviously ended in some frustration because of injury. But I really admire his spirit and his determination to drive this move. Am I surprised that a club of the stature and size and glory, if you like, of Barcelona have gone for a player who's, frankly, you know, ostracised at Man United, hasn't gone well for him in the last couple of years? I am, but I just feel that Rashford has got a burning desire there and so much ability and potential to prove a few people wrong. And I think that has to be top of his agenda there. And if that drives him on to be a success in Barcelona, while wearing, by the way, an iconic 14 shirt synonymous with Johan Cruyff, and basically I just think, wow, what a statement of intent from Marcus Rashford and his career. And, you know, I really, really hope it goes well for him, because this is the guy that we all took to our hearts a few years back for being a national treasure in lockdown. And I just really hope it goes well for him. He's had major setbacks, some of his own making, it has to be said, many times of his own making. But it feels like a fresh start at 27, going to Barcelona, playing at the Nou Camp. Oh, what an opportunity. Wow.
He must, John, have had pretty strong reassurances that registering him will not be a problem, because we've seen in recent seasons that Barca have had to pretty much flog the family silver, hospitality rights, all sorts of different things to try and keep registering players because, as was touched on, they're right up against it financially.
Oh, massively. I mean, we're talking about Gundogan being shown the door not so long back. We are talking about Rafinha nearly being offloaded, and he's, being talked about Ballon d'Or. So, I mean, this is a club that kind of, basically runs day to day and is absolutely all over the place. And basically, it seems to me that basically they get all their players together in one big huddle, see if they can register as many as they can possibly and sort of kind of do it with the wages. And then one normally gets left out and gets shoved out. He must have had assurances about his kind of, playing time, about his opportunities and about Barcelona's financial kind of situation. I do still, I think this is a winner for United, as Lado says, that basically, if they get 15 million quid off the wage bill, and he has, we read in many of the reports saying that basically he's taken a pay cut and basically Barcelona are therefore going to overtake all of his wages for this coming year and then have an option to make the deal permanent next summer, then I do think that is a good move for United. It gives them scope to do some business, but it also kind of, probably balances it a little bit for Barcelona because the outlay wouldn't have been so spectacular. And they are fundamentally signing an England international with so much ability and talent that, yes, he's put on the back burner for a couple of years. But let's make no mistake about it. This guy can be absolutely devastating with his pace and his threat from the wide areas. I really like Rashford as a player and his personality.
Just on Manchester United then, Ian, it's very easy to sit here and slag them off, and we have done probably countless times on this programme over the last couple of seasons. But do those above Ruben Amorim deserve a little bit of credit? Because I'm not sure how hard a ball they've had to play, but to get him off and to get Barcelona covering the wages, there have been times where in recent seasons with high-profile players, United have had to take some pretty embarrassing cuts on those that they've lost huge amounts of money on certain players.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I didn't think this was a deal that United would pull off in terms of the way it's structured. I didn't think they'd find anybody who would pay all of Marcus's wages. I was talking to someone relatively close to Marcus a couple of weeks ago, and they didn't think that would happen either. They thought that wherever he went, there'd have to be a split with United funding part of the deal. So I think United have managed to work this one pretty well. I thought it would probably go down to the wire the last week of the window before they got him out on loan somewhere. I didn't think it would be Barcelona. So it's a result for them. Disagree slightly with what Cossie says about Marcus. I think he's been a bit lucky to get this deal. John talks about courage and all the rest of it. I think it's. I mean, who wouldn't go? Who wouldn't take it? He's had a couple of very, very modest seasons at Manchester United. He's left two managers, Ruben Amorim and Erik ten Hag, unimpressed with his conduct and the way he's gone about his business at Old Trafford. He's leaving because he's got no choice but to leave. Really, Amorim made his decision on that one last season, and the fact that he's managed to. Let's put it this way, probably find himself to be the beneficiary of that chaos that John referenced at Barcelona to land himself the move. I think he's a lucky footballer. That doesn't mean I hope it doesn't work out for him, because I hope it does work out for him, because he's a talented footballer. I think deep down he's a good guy. I think he's lost his way. I don't think there's any malevolence there. I think he's become confused. I think he's become a little bit disorientated in terms of his standing in the game, where he wants to be, what he wants to do. I don't think it comes from a bad place. So this is a chance for him to get out, clear his head and play his football. He's a very, very good footballer. I don't think he's a world-class footballer. He's a very, very good footballer. He now has an opportunity to show it again, and all he has to do is go and do it.
And that, I guess, is a very interesting assessment, John, for Barcelona and Hansi Flick in particular to have had to have made as to what Ian just said there about seeing off two Manchester United managers, or two Manchester United managers haven't exactly been doing cartwheels about his attitude, or will Hansi Flick have seen the 5 or 6 months at Aston Villa and thought, that's encouraging, and with all respect to Villa, he'll now be playing with better players at Barcelona and think, well, that's what I'm buying into here.
Yeah, look, who amongst us would have really thought that he would have gone to Aston Villa and made quite the statement that he did? bearing in mind that this was a guy completely frozen out of the picture, told he's not in the manager's plans. Yes, I do totally understand. I do appreciate that, you know, he's obviously clearly fallen out with the last two managers and basically been shown the door. So probably lucky, I'd agree with, rather than courage. But I do also think within that period of time, he reminded us what he's about, which is basically incredible pace, a fantastic sort of ability to run at players, cut in, you know, particularly I have visions of him sort of kind of absolutely racing down the left-hand side, cutting into the right, and basically really be a devastating player. And let's not forget that it's not too long ago that we were sort of kind of lauding him as one of the best players of his type and ability and speed and pace and attributes in Europe. And you know, if he can get back there, then I do feel as if, you know, Barcelona would feel a good fit for him. He's got to talk it up. And I do think he talked it up quite nicely today. Basically, sort of kind of feeling at home, you know, sort of making those noises. The phone box stunt, you know, was quite good. You know, there was a question, wasn't there? Can you be the most successful Brit in Barcelona ever, sort of thing, really? I mean, you know, they were making comparisons in the press conference about Lineker, weren't they, basically? And, you know, listen, he's got some serious competition to live up to. He's also kind of got some fantastic sort of kind of players to wade through in terms of competition. Has he seen the two wingers that he might be up against? I mean, you know, the obvious question there has to be, is he going to play? Where's he going to play? And when's he going to play? You know, so look, there's lots of battles ahead, not denying that, but I do admire that basically, you know, he's put himself out there. Yes, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it's an opportunity he's clearly been chasing. I think that's the point. And then to actually be able to nail it, well, fair play to the people that have nailed it, because it does seem, you know, if you'd said about 6 weeks ago, Marcus Rashford's going to sign for Barcelona, come on. We'd have gone, really? You know, not quite believed it. So fair play to those that have actually made it happen. And as I say, it's partly down to circumstance, but what an opportunity for Rashford. He has to seize it. This is the tipping point of his career. This is make or break in his career. You know, it's sink or swim. And basically this will either make his reputation, or people will say, well, he never quite fulfilled that potential and promise. And that's the challenge facing him, and he's got to grasp it.
So Barcelona have added a forward, Ian, so too have Liverpool. Hugo Ekitike arrives for a deal that could be worth just under £80 million. Eventually, it's been quite the statement this summer from the champions. Where do you think that Ekitike fits into Arne Slot's long-term plans?
Well, I think he fits into long-term plans by coming and scoring some goals. I mean, this has been an intriguing season at Anfield, but this is the one. Really, you know, we know about Frimpong, about Carragher, and about Wirtz. We know quite a bit about them. We know their background, their pedigree. This is the one. This is the gamble. I think. I think most Liverpool fans out there were praying that the next arrival would be Alexander Isak from Newcastle. That hasn't happened. There's still some whispers around that one that it may not be entirely dead. Let's see what happens with that one. But I think that's what Liverpool fans would have wanted. And this one is it's a little bit more in the balance, isn't it? Because he's not played in the Premier League, he's not played international football, and as we know, we've seen a lot of other forwards come into the Premier League with pedigree from other divisions and found it very, very difficult. So it didn't work for Darwin Núñez, as we know, sadly. Let's see if this one works for them. It's a really a bit of a tipping point for Liverpool in the summer. Certain things have happened. We know about the desperate tragedy involving Diogo Jota, of course. None of us can ever really get our heads around what happened there. Liverpool have to take that on board and try and move on somehow. Luis Diaz may go to Bayern Munich. So then Núñez we expect to go. So then you're relying on Mo Salah to produce the form that he produced in the first 2/3 of last season. Can that happen? Can he do it every single season? Who knows? What if he gets an injury? So they need firepower, and this is their big step to making sure that they have some. And it'll be fascinating, absolutely fascinating to see how it works out.
We shall see. Thank you very much indeed for the moment, gents. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have a look at some of the other sports stories in the morning's papers, including in the Telegraph. Arise Dame Serena, while India's Rishabh Pant could miss the rest of the series after that injury whilst batting at Old Trafford today.